welcome back, everybody. This is Polite as Fuck podcast. Happy Wednesday. Hope you guys are doing good. Any of our new listeners, I'm Ellie.
And I'm Erica.
Yeah. So this is a little bit of a interesting week because our families have been in town. So we've been doing a lot of like social gatherings with all of our friends, and your mom has been here. My mom has been in here. So it's been a lot of family and friends week.
A lot of events happening.
Yeah, so many events, which also like I think we're so done with talking about being unemployed, but with being unemployed, I feel like so much more, like, obviously my schedule is so open, but like so much more willing to like do all of these things. And so like it's not hard, but like when I'm with all of the friends, I'm like, damn, you guys have to go to work tomorrow. Or
yeah,
like you guys
keep
worked.
going.
Yeah, like you guys worked all day today and I'm just here chilling.
Yeah.
So, but it's been so fun, like being able to do all of the things that have been planned, especially now like getting closer to the holidays, and being able to like, you know, people are planning stuff for Thanksgiving and what we're gonna do like for Christmas, and it just seems like such a time to like be involved with friends. So I've really enjoyed that aspect of being unemployed.
Yeah,
which I think you have as well. But I say that because we had like a little Halloween party pretty recently at a friend's house, and I was just chatting with some friends, and one of our friends had made a comment about how she was like, I don't know if this happens to you guys, but I get this like stray neck hair, and somebody like in her like social, like in a social setting, had called her out on it and was like, do you want me to pluck it? It's not as bad of a story. It was like somebody was like trying to do her makeup for it. And literally everybody in the group started like chiming up about stuff. I was like, I literally have like 4 stray chin hairs. Someone was like, started talking about like chin hairs. What about nipple hairs? And it just like, just made me giggle because I'm like, this is funny. But also it was a little bit of a like nice to hear, even though we were joking about it, because I was like, this is something that people don't talk about enough. And so to hear like all of these beautiful, like literally gorgeous women saying that they're like, oh my gosh, this got called out, or this happened, or do you guys have this, like kind of like a hush hush conversation, I was like, okay, stop. Me and Erica need to talk about this immediately. We need to figure out what the fuck, why don't we talk about this enough? How do our bodies fucking change? Because I've always had like very dark hair. Like I've never had like chin hair before, or like stray nipple hairs that are black as the night. So I'm like, I just think what better opportunity to talk about it than the Polite as Fuck podcast.
I agree.
And like, I also just started thinking too, like, also if I say like one more time, I'm going to lose my mind.
Can't wait to edit it back.
Yeah, it's going to be great. I was just also thinking too that so many things that I was taught as like a teenager of what to expect for my body has significantly changed. And then even talking with like my mom a little bit about it, who is like in another stage of her life, and seeing like how your body constantly changes. I'm like, I kind of knew that. Like it's not like a super big surprise, but also like how and why and when and what do I need to expect and all of these things. So I was like, again, what better place to talk about it than
the
podcast.
Yeah.
So that's what we're talking about today.
Were you like taught? You were taught things about your body changing? Like was that like a thing?
I think like my mom was very open growing up just about like certain things, but I was a very like active person, and it was more so like about a period and things like that. Like we were very open about like whether or not like I wanted to do a pad or a tampon or a diva cup, and like how to make like a bra fit, and how like it's okay to have like weight gain or acne. Like my mom was very like body positive, but I still wasn't like expecting more change. Like it was just
like
never
puberty.
After puberty, I just didn't think about it. It wasn't something that was talked about. It was just more so like the big thing for me was the constant talk when you get to college and you get the freshman 15. And so because I was so active as a kid, I got to school, like college, and like started to see my body change and just associated it with the freshman 15. And I think like, yes, that may happen, but I also think now that I'm not 16, 17, 18, like I'm now going into like 19 and 20, like your body changes. And honestly, like I had pretty small boobs like growing up. And it wasn't until I was like 21, 22 that I started to get like pretty, like, I mean, they're not huge, but like they were different.
Yeah.
And I didn't even like, I was like, I thought I was done growing. Like I don't understand what's happening. So I think that's what I mean by like taught.
Yeah, I get that. Did you ever read the Karen Keepings of You book? It was like an American Girl.
No. God, that sounds like the Karen Keepings?
Care
Oh.
and Keeping.
Who's Karen and why is she keeping these
the Karen
things?
Keepings. No. I loved that book because I feel like it was like all the things that like no adult was really having that conversation with me. But it was similar to what you're saying of like, you're gonna get breasts and they're gonna like change, and you're gonna get a period, and your body's gonna change, and you're gonna get hair. And I honestly read that book a lot because it was like validating for me of like, okay, like this is what to expect. This is like, there was like the different stages of like breast development, and I was like, I think I'm in stage 3 now. Like,
No, I never read that.
it's a really good book. Whoever wrote it was ahead of their time, I think.
Yeah.
And that was my like education. But I do think there is like there's a missed education in like your 20s of like what other changes are happening. And I remember, college being one of them of like the weight gain. And then like, especially in dating, like I'm like, why are my like hips so like wide now? And why am I like feeling like so big?
Yes.
But then it's validating when a man can like appreciate that. Not that you need that necessarily to like appreciate your own body, but like when you haven't really been taught and you're kind of like, what is happening? But they find that attractive, you're like, okay, and trying more to embrace it. But it is weird because you're like, I don't weigh the same as I did when I was 16. I don't think I'll ever have that body frame as I did when I was 16. But it's also like, for what? Why do I need that? I'm not a teenager.
I don't want that. So why am I taught that that's what I want?
Yeah.
Also, that same kind of conversation that I was having with that group of friends is another friend had said like she gets like this hair on her like mole or something, and she was never self-conscious about it until a boyfriend in high school called her out for having like quote unquote facial hair. I'm like, I think yes, it's important I would like to know more about how my body changes. Like I was very grateful to have that conversation with my mom growing up. And so I wish that I now knew how my body is going to change now that I'm in my 20s, how it's going to change when I'm in my 30s, so on and so forth. But I also feel like this is information that like my significant other needs to know, or that people in high school, like boys and young men need to know as well, so they can like back the fuck off and realize like it's normal. Like no one would ever she didn't even think twice about it until a fucking man called her out for it.
Yeah.
You just made me think of that.
No, that's so true. Those comments, any comment about your body it sticks with you forever.
Forever.
I still remember in 3rd grade when someone told me I had buck teeth, and I did, and my teeth were awful, but I was never self-conscious of it until some kid pointed it out, and then I was like, I was always smiling, and then I was like very aware of my smile because of how crooked my teeth were, and that this kid pointed it out.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know what buck teeth were. I had to ask someone.
Yeah. Do you know what this means?
I was like, why did he say that?
No, fully. It isn't until someone calls you out that you really start to feel, and then everybody is just, because they're so uneducated, it just builds and you feel bad, and it stays with you clearly all the way up until you're 20. So we're here to break some of these norms. That's what we're here to do.
What would you say has been like the biggest change in your body that you've noticed? Like,
the first one that comes to mind is weight gain. Just because like even though, God, like I felt when I was like a teenager that I was on the bigger side, and I look back and I'm like, what the fuck?
I know.
We literally worked out for 2 hours not more than 2
More than
hours,
2
like
hours a
more than
day.
2 hours a day,
Yeah.
doing like intense workout. Like we were shredded.
Yeah.
And I was like, I thought I was fat.
I know. I see my arms and I'm like, I thought my arms were like so big, and I look at photos and I'm like, girl,
What?
what's wrong?
Yeah.
No. But it's also like you're comparing yourself to other 16-year-old girls. And I look at like teenagers now because I have younger siblings, and it's just so crazy to me, like the beauty standards that they have or are holding themselves to are like, I don't know. I always thought it was interesting, girls in high school that spent so much time putting on their makeup and doing their hair every day, and I wanted to be that, but I like couldn't, and
Yeah.
it like wasn't me.
Yeah.
But now I feel like it's even more extreme than that.
Yeah. Because at least for us, you could do the most wild, blue, crazy, sparkly eyeshadow and that be good enough. But now it's like you either do it and it's perfect or don't do it at all. And that is just like, they have no room to be like a kid and try shit out. It's crazy. It's like, yeah, the spectrum of that is crazy. I also think weight gain would be my answer, but I think just like the change of like where my body holds weight.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I'm like, why are you right here all the time?
Yeah. I feel honestly my hips has been a big one. But I've embraced it now. And when I like see myself in the mirror and see more of like an hourglass than like the straight, not that I was a stick, but I was like a straight kid. Straight. I gotta stop saying straight. You know what I'm trying to say. The hair, I think, is the biggest one for me.
Yeah. Yeah, that was really hard. It still is. Like, sometimes I'm like, why? You were never here before. Why are you showing up?
Mm-hmm. I also wonder, too, about, like, getting off birth control and, like, how the hormones have impacted. And, like, had we not been on it when we were as young as we were, if we would have gotten that hair earlier, or if it would have never come because we hadn't really fucked up our cycles.
Yeah. I think about that all the time. And that was actually something that I started reading is like the main thing is the changes that happen in your 20s is like your hormones when you're a teen are constantly going like this. Like you're all over the place. Now that we're in our 20s, your hormones, wow, basically are more like regular. And so I really do think like not only now are we learning about our bodies on and off birth control, like in our own personal like lifestyle that we're choosing to live, which I think a lot of women are in that same kind of position. But we're also now learning, okay, this is my body during my 20s, or this is like my hormones, and this is how like things may be affecting me like physically, emotionally, mentally because of my hormones. But now we're taking away that birth control. Like I feel like even reading just some of these or even looking at like the weight gain is these last few months, like I've really learned so much about my body that I feel like I'm having to like relearn everything. Yeah, it would be really interesting. I mean, we can't go back, but like what would our bodies be if
we never
were on it?
Yeah. Yeah. Do you feel like there are like standards being placed upon you, or do you think that you've been like putting them on yourself?
I mean, I do put them on myself, but I feel like I get it from outside. And I do think that those comments from other people, especially men, because that's who I am like attracted to, even now as like an adult, like if an adult man has something to say, even though I want to be like fuck you, which I do, I'm also like it's still internalized. And then I start to think like, is this like normal? That's why I'm like, when I talk with you about it, when we like talk about like, oh my gosh, our arm hair, like having that conversation with the group, it's like ha ha ha, this is funny, but also like, oh my god, thank God that you guys are also feeling this way, because I know that it's normal for these changes, but also because it's not talked about enough, it doesn't shut up the rest of my brain that's telling me it's not enough, or you're not like good enough, or you shouldn't be having these changes or whatever, you know? Do you put expectations on yourself, or do you feel?
I think yes and no. I mean, we've had the conversation around social media, and it's like I can find these like beautiful, stunning women that like clearly have Botox, a nose job, lip filler, whatever, and that's fine and they can do that, but it's like, do I want to put that as my beauty standard? And because I feel like now social media, you can find people who just look like normal and average and they have a ton of followers and are whatever.
Yeah.
Like, but then there's also the people that have a ton of followers for how they look. So I think it's more of like, what do I want to like, I guess, idolize in a way or like put that standard on myself? And I did see this comment. I've seen actually quite a few like videos and like memes or things recently around LA. And so part of me is like, I wonder if it's this like bubble of Southern California and this like, because you go anywhere else in the world and people don't look like this.
No, they don't.
They don't. It's just like you come to Southern California and like, these are the most beautiful people I've ever seen. A lot of it isn't real. A lot of it is also that people just invest so much time in themselves.
Yeah.
Working out all the time, doing all these different things. And I know I showed you or I told you about that podcast episode that was like the beauty hamster wheel.
Yeah.
And I get what I think your initial reaction had been like, well, no, like if you want to do that for yourself. And I agree with that. Like if it's not coming from a place of like, I want to change myself and I'm so insecure and I don't love who I am and I'm trying to look different, that's different than like, no, I like getting my hair done.
Yeah.
And I like getting facials or I want to do Botox because whatever. That I think that's different. But it also like the things I've seen recently around like this bubble of Southern California and like the rest of the world, and someone had compared it to like Italy where it's like all these beautiful women, these old women with their wrinkles and their gray hair and they're stunning and they're just happy and living their lives and like sipping their wine with their friends, and it's like you find that in LA, but they don't look the same. They don't show like the life in them. It's all like this mask of all the treatments that they've done and things. But where I was going in this really long-winded comparison is in that podcast episode that was by Money with Katie. She had been like interviewing someone or someone had come on around like this expectation, and it's a little bit like pedophile-ish honestly, of like women to forever look like young,
12 years old,
while men can turn into like the silver fox and the really handsome old dude, and like that's why you see all the like old men with these really young women, because there isn't that there's this mismatched expectation, whether that's one we've placed on ourselves or not, of you to forever be that 16-year-old girl and look like that, and it's just not possible unless you spend all your money to make yourself look that way. So it's like, I can put that standard on myself, but I don't want to feed into that, you know?
Yeah. I definitely think a lot of my insecurities are rooted from the social expectation from when we grew up. And I think that now the world with social media, which is a blessing and a curse, but like you were saying, is because the platform has opened up, it allows everybody's voice to come on. So it really is, you know, you can choose what you allow to, you know, put your time and energy into. I just think like for me personally is I do think it's all in my head. So that's why I was kind of like, it is in my head, but it's also social expectations, but it's social like expectations that I was taught or thought was the right thing based on when I was younger that I still haven't been able to let go. That I feel like even recently have I felt like, okay, I need to let that go because that's not what I want to do. And I do think too, like living in this area, it is hard. You know how many times I'm like, I should do lip filler. And like the reason why is because I think like maybe it'll make me more confident because there are certain things that I choose to do that do make me feel so good, like getting my hair cut or like going to go get waxed. Like there are certain things that I choose to do because I do feel good afterwards or whatever. But I also am like hesitant because I'm like, I just don't think that will make me feel good. I don't think it'll make me more confident. I think it'll just like kind of open up. It'll be like a gateway drug to all of these other things.
And it's like, and what's next and how much money, and then you have to maintain that and
Yeah. And I think as far as like, you know, I'm feel like for me, my priorities in my life are in a like different spot where I'm like, I think about it. I really do think about everything as far as like traveling. And so I'm like, I could literally buy a ticket somewhere with that money to like, I can't get myself to make that big of a purchase if I can put that money elsewhere.
Yeah.
So I think that's the reason, that's, you know, another reason too. But it's just hard to really break those, you know, when I was a kid and I was like wearing certain things or looking a certain way or had my hair a certain way or had my makeup a certain way or had like wore a different bra and I got the male attention, it sticks with you.
Do you remember push-up bras? How much padding that was? Your boobs are like in your neckline.
Yeah, and then you would like stick out so your shirt would be there. I could literally like oh my gosh. For what?
For what? But Victoria's Secret was selling them, and my mom would never buy that for me, but I would wear other people's.
Oh, yeah.
Because I wanted to have that look.
Yeah. So I think that is where, you know, and I feel a little bit behind the times a little bit because I think a lot of people that I've surrounded myself with recently seem very confident and not that it just seems like a lot of people don't really struggle with that because they seem so confident, which I know is total, like, you know, it's not true. I think people are struggling with that. But I think it's because of the insecurities that I've lived with since growing up and just have not worked the muscle, for lack of a better word, of like confidence to just love myself how I am. Mm-hmm. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. It does.
So that is just like a little bit of a challenge. But I think now like that is one thing that is so beautiful about getting into your 20s, especially in your late 20s, is regardless of all of these like changes that are happening with your hormones and your body and your skin. And like I thought acne would go away and that still hasn't fucking gone away or it's changed and become different or like now I shave and I get really, you know, like things are just changing all the time.
Yeah.
It's more so of like, I wouldn't even say acceptance. I feel like it goes deeper than that of just like I have so much greater love for myself now than I ever have before, which is crazy because I think it only gets better from here. And when I talk to my aunts or my mom or like other older women in my life, it seems like they've embraced and love themselves regardless of the changes that they're going through.
Well, I also feel like the people that do that too are the most beautiful. Mm-hmm. Like when I see a woman that has like embraced her gray hair and is just like, you know, it just to me seems like she's embraced every change that has happened to her and just is smiling and so confident and friendly and just owns that. I'm like, you are stunning. Like you're literally so beautiful. Yeah. And that's like to me something that I want to inhibit when I'm older. I also feel like, I don't know if we've talked about this on the podcast, but like I'm getting laser hair removal. And if I would have done that when I was 17, I feel like it would have been coming from a place of like, I hate this hair on my body. I need to get it off. Whereas now it's like, I've been getting razor burn since forever because I've been swimming forever. And I would always just like have that there and it was uncomfortable. And the older I've gotten and the more hair I've gotten, the more, and I've tried growing out my armpit hair. I've tried growing out my leg hair. It's uncomfortable. I like am itchy all the time. I just don't like it. And so when I shave, it's gotten worse because the hair is like thicker and now it's on my face and I'm shaving and I have ingrown hairs everywhere. And it wasn't like a place of like, I hate myself, but like, oh, I got my tax return. This is a way that I can like not have to deal with this and like, I'm going to do it. Yeah. But it wasn't like I hate me and I want to change that. Yeah. Which I feel like is just a very different mindset than if my mom would have paid for that for me when I was a teenager or something.
It's literally how you show up to that like thing. I totally agree. I literally had someone on my swim team in high school, a girl, like a year, I think younger than me, tell me that she was going to the doctor to get to an OBGYN to get her vagina looked at because she didn't like the length of her vagina lips.
What?
I was probably 17, so she was maybe 15, 16 years old. 15 to 16 years old.
Because she didn't like it?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Well, that's what she said. That was like
Yeah.
that's just I can't really remember like the whole conversation, but I think about that so much because I'm just like I didn't even know that was like a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And now because she was so insecure about it or whatever else may have been going on in her life, whatever else has happened, it seemed, I don't know. But now it's like her insecurity, I almost felt like I had to mirror. Like I was like, well, shit. Like what do I look like? What is going on there? Like it just, you can dig yourself a really deep hole for all the wrong reasons. And it gets like so scary.
I think that's a huge testament to like you are the company you keep, because I vividly remember going on a trip it was like in 9th grade, the NJHS trip where we got to go to Six Flags or whatever, and it was like the day everyone could like wear like short shorts because there was no dress code because we're out of school and all this stuff, and the girls that I always thought were just like so stunning, I hung out with them. And I just was so drained by the end of the day and felt horrible about myself because we'd spent like so much time in the hotel, like doing our hair and makeup. And basically they were just like picking themselves apart and like, oh my gosh, I hate this, blah, blah, like I hate this part of my cheekbone or whatever. And like things like you're saying that like I had never even thought about myself, but they spent so much time like covering it up and fixing themselves up and all these things and putting on these outfits. And I feel like that is why being a teenager can be so draining, because when you're surrounded by things like that and all these constant like expectations that you didn't even know existed get like placed upon you, or you become aware of them, you're like, do I really need to care about these things?
Right.
And then I feel like when you're, at least for me, like when I'm in my 20s, I'm like, my friend group is much smaller and it's much more of like people that I choose to hang out with and spend my time with. I'm not stuck in a high school with you every day.
Yeah, you're like forced to hang out with these people. No, like, you can literally choose anybody, and this is the group that you chose.
Yeah. Like there have been people that I've hung out with that I'm just like, I don't really care if I ever hang out with you again because it's draining.
So draining for that reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is hard.
So, okay, I want to get your thoughts on this really quick.
Okay.
I was looking at like what are like tangible specific ways that your body changes when you're 20s because I think like things are still changing, so how can you just like be aware of what's going on? And so this article, Mamma Mia, which is great, just listed some of the things that can change, and most of this is like makes sense because a lot of it has to do with like your hormone, I wouldn't say imbalance, but just the fact that it's balancing out and it's changing. You're not a teenager anymore. You're getting older. It's going to be more regular. So obviously your body changes shape. So I think that's where a lot of my discomfort or a lot of like growth had to happen of like, okay, this is how my body looks. Like I cannot elongate my whatever this is. What is this? Torso. Like I can't do that. And my legs are not going to get any longer. I can't do that. So why am I, this is how it is. But some of the other things that I think were just important to notice, because some of them aren't bad, but like for one is like your period becomes a little bit more predictable. It's not going to be like super unstable. But the con to that is your period cramps can get worse, which is wonderful. You have adult acne, which is very different than teenage acne. I feel like when I was a teenager, I was very susceptible to acne when I wore makeup, which now my acne is very much based on my menstrual cycle and the foods that I am eating. And I get really frustrated because some foods that I really, really like feel like
really make
me break out, which is like, makes sense. An increase of vaginal discharge, more prone to STIs, more susceptible to mental health issues. A good thing is that your sleep improves. Your hormones settle down. Yeah, does it? I don't know how.
I haven't run into that one yet.
That's interesting. An adult brain is primed to sleep earlier and rise earlier than it did in our teenage years. As a busy adult life really ramps up too, there are often multiple stressors, homework factors that can impact or detract from sleep. So I think it has a little bit more to do with like outside factors on why we're not getting help or not getting sleep, not help. But it was just like interesting because like it is tangible and like this is going to happen no matter who you are, what you're going through. Like those are the changes that you're going to, probably see when you're in your 20s, which is like, again, things that I would have been like, oh yeah, duh, like that makes sense. But also when it's not talked about enough, then I get like, oh, this is like weird. Why is this happening? I also think too, like when you allow yourself to have that conversation with a friend group specifically, and then you start to hear that everybody else is going through that same thing, it becomes like normal and you feel better about yourself. So being able to have that conversation with your group of friends, I think is important. Like the hair on the neck and chin conversation, because I was like, oh my God, I feel so much like not even worried about it now, because I'm like, oh, so many people are feeling this way, which is again, like, duh, I should have known. But also when I don't talk about it enough, then I don't think twice about it.
Yeah. Or when it's like, yeah, my mom's like plucked her chin hair, but that's my mom. And like, is it just our genetics?
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. It's just me and my family. This is crazy. So
Yeah.
to hear it from other people makes it so much better.
Yeah.
Thinking outside of your teenage years, and like, I don't really even want to say 20s, because I feel like I'm a lot different than when I was in like my like young 20s. So now like since being like 25 and up, so only like a few years ago, do you feel like you have specific like beauty standards that you need to hold yourself to? I know we kind of just like talked about that with like the laser hair removal, but that's like a decision that you made because of who you are. But do you have any like, standards that you need to hold yourself like to?
I feel like they're not necessarily standards as much as like self-care that I want to make time for. Because I feel like in my mind, like a teenager, I would put on a ton of like foundation or whatever, cover up, because I was like trying to hide my acne, but it wasn't because I enjoyed putting on makeup. It was because I was like, my face is red.
Yeah.
Whereas like now I don't wear makeup every day, but like I really tried to have like a skincare routine, and I tried to like have my nighttime routine to help with me getting good sleep, so that I like wake up feeling well rested and like look not like I haven't slept, you know?
Yeah.
Or like I like getting my hair done more regularly, whereas before I would just like let my hair grow out, not cut it for like 2 years, then be like, oh my gosh, my hair is so thick and annoying, and then chop it all off and then hate it because I hate when my hair is short, and then do it all over again. But it's like I can maintain like healthy hair and feel good about my hair, instead of like this hate thing of like I have to cut it off. Yeah. So I feel like it's more of like routines that I've built that help me feel like my most beautiful self, but it's not necessarily like standards of like something I have to keep up, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you have standards?
I think the only one that I think about the most is body hair. And I think it has a lot to do with the fact that like I grew up swimming, so like everything was exposed all the time, and I never remember having to shave. Like I remember in high school having to shave like maybe once a week.
Wow.
And like not really thinking, and now I feel like I have to do it way more. And it's been pretty recently that I'm just like, I don't want to, so I'm not going to. But it is that like comfort level of like when I am going to the beach, I want, I think it's, I don't know if it's a me thing or if it's because I'm holding myself to the standard. I don't know. But the reason why I asked you is because for me, it's the hair piece of like, I feel like I need to get my eyebrows waxed, or like, I don't like having hair on my body, so I want it off or shaved, or I like the way that I feel like that, especially when I'm about to go to the beach and have like basically nothing on but a bikini. I also feel too like I don't need to, it's not a part of my routine that I need to do every single day, if that makes sense. But that's like a relationship that I think is still building, just because it's something that I'm not very, it just annoys me. And it's something that's like, I don't like it there, so I want to make it time to have it off.
I will say, I agree with that. I've also like let it go or whatever with guys I've been with in the past, almost as like a test. Because I'm like, if that annoys you, that I have body hair, then we're going to have an issue. Because there's going to be times when I'm not going to want to shave, or when I've been busy or whatever. And like life, like when I'm living by myself, I'm not shaving every day. So don't expect that I'm going to be doing that all the time.
Yeah.
Also because I get freaking horrible razor burn and I can't shave every day because it's awful.
Yeah.
So I've like, yeah, I feel like there's the point of like, it's annoying and frustrating for you, but then it's also like, is that annoying and frustrating for someone else? Because if it is, goodbye.
Yeah. I think having that, like having hair or not having hair, I think is the hardest hurdle for me to have like jump over since being like an adult and being in my 20s, is because it's been called out by a man so many times in the past.
Really?
That I think, yes, and that I think that like, again, that's my own thing that I have to work through. But as far as like, yeah, makeup, I don't feel the need to do that, or that it's like something that I need to invest time or money in, or that I find confidence in. Like I feel whereas before it was like, I felt like when I was going to school, or even as like a young adult just entering my 20s, is like I felt like naked, like I couldn't go out just this way, like I had to do something. Whereas like now I'm totally comfortable that way. And I also feel like it's an art form and I don't know what I'm doing, so I'm not going to try to pretend like I know what I'm doing. I'm going to stick to the basics that make me comfortable, and I'm totally okay with that. And also, no one has ever really called me out on that before, so it doesn't quite bother me.
Yeah. I was just going to say, I remember like buying waterproof mascara and like reapplying foundation before swim practice so that I could try and maintain this like face.
Yeah. My eyelashes are so long. Like I have very, very long eyelashes. So when I would put my goggles on, as a visual for those that are on YouTube, this is what it looked like. Anyway, I would have streaks of black in my goggles that I would have to wipe off from my mascara, because I would reapply in the bathroom before going into the
It's so silly.
before no one is gonna see my eye. For who? Who?
Also, like, then it just looked way worse because then your mascara is like smeared.
Yeah, and it's like all under here. I'm like, yeah. So I think that like that beauty standard is out the window for me. Yeah. And I also just feel so comfortable with my skin. Even when I have acne, like it's uncomfortable, but I don't feel this need to like cover up. You know, it's like I can call it out. And of course it's annoying. I'm not going to sit here and be like, I've embraced it, because it's not very like not completely honest, but it's not something that is like causing me stress like it did back in the day.
Yeah.
Whereas like for me, I think the hair piece still does. It's like my like trigger. I'm just like,
Yeah. There's a girl, Becca Martinez, the girl that was the Chatty Broads podcast. Yeah. She like has her armpit hair grown out and her leg hair grown out, and has like, that's been her, not her thing, but like she's done that for a long time. And it was so interesting because she used to always make these posts about like, every time I post something where you guys see my legs or my arms lifted up, someone has to comment. But I had like never really seen the comments, and I was just like, I don't know. But then E! News, or one of the like news outlets, had reposted one of her pictures because she just had another baby and she was on The Bachelor, so she has some like clout or whatever. And I looked at the comments, and it was every single top comment that was liked was about, ew, her leg hair, ew. And I was just like, is this real? Like in my mind, I was like, that's not a thing. And then everyone like on this article was commenting, and I'm just like, they're announcing that she just had a baby. And I do think that E! News or whoever reposted it made a choice by picking out the picture where her legs are showing and you can see her leg hair. But it was like pretty disheartening for me to like see that those are the comments that people are making on this post. Like, for why? It also feels like it's very much just like a Western, like USA issue. Because I feel like we're the only country where this is like a problem. Well, and I do remember learning about it in a marketing class a while back about like, I want to say it was like when men went to war and the razor sales were down, they needed a way to make razor sales. So they were like, women, get rid of your hair, which had never been like a thing before.
That is so interesting.
It's like, this was all just like marketed to us and taught to us, and has become the thing in the last like not even 100 years. This is a very recent thing.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I'm like letting it consume my whole life sometimes. Like, I will literally like be out in public, and like even today I was out at the zoo with my family and wearing biker shorts, feeling so cute, like not even like recently shaved, but like I didn't care. I had lotion on. I wasn't bothered. And we sat down and I felt like on my thigh, like not like right where my bikini line is, but like mid thigh area. Like I felt like a little bit of like a prickly hair, and I like looked down and I saw that it was black. I immediately went home and plucked it. Not like I left the zoo.
Sprinted away.
Fuck off, elephants! I gotta go. No, I was like,
but
when I was done with the zoo, it
brain.
was so in my mind, and I could not let it go until I got home. And it's like, and then I looked down to pluck, and there's like 7 there, and I'm just like, okay, stop. As like a clarifying, and I'm saying this in existence to myself, but also for everybody else, because I think this is a common theme when you're in your 20s, is I am so selfish in meaning like I am only focused on me. I'm just using you because we live together. Like I never look at your bikini line and I'm like, have you shaved? Or like notice your armpit hair or notice your leg hair. Even when we're out at the beach, like I don't notice that on other women. I don't think twice about it. I'm not out analyzing people's legs hair if they're wearing shorts. Like it doesn't even cross my mind. But for me, it is so like hyper focused that I'm just like, it is literally all in my head. It's all fake, and no one else is giving a fuck except for me. All because some schmilly Bill Bob out in 16 years ago had something to say about it.
Yeah.
That was wild. Schmilly Bill Bob and 16 years ago. When I was an infant. No.
Also, no, because you're 27.
Oh my god. I hate it. My brain sometimes moves. My mouth just like starts going and going and going. And in my mind, I heard all of it come out. And it was like, you know,
no.
Just, no, stop. No, like sirens going off. Shut up, shut up, shut up. And my mouth's like, blah, 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 blah. This is the theme of this fucking podcast, I swear to God. Erica has her life together, and Ellie's mouth is just like, blah, blah.
Oh, I know.
Like, literally.
Anyway.
Letting go a lot of these beauty standards that are just, like, unrealistic and just so dumb. And then... I'm trying. I don't know what else to do.
I'm sorry. Okay, I'm not gonna look at you. Say what you're gonna say.
You're gonna look at me. I just love that there's like literally no one else in the room. It's just us. This is it. Anyway, I think what has helped me these few years as developing a really decent like beauty routine, or just like routine that makes me feel very confident and secure in myself. And so I thought we would share some of our like die for products, some of our like best things that we like to do, what our beauty routine is night and morning. I feel like they're different depending on the morning or the evening.
Yeah.
And yeah, we also reached out to a few of our followers and asked them what are their like can't live without products that we wanted to share as well.
Yeah. And I don't think this is coming from a place, hopefully you guys understand, of like, well, we just talked about beauty standards and here are all the things you have to buy to look beautiful, but more of like what makes people feel good. And I think I do think it's important to invest in a routine that makes you feel confident, like you said, not because it's like I'm trying to change who I am and how I look, but because like I'm embracing my beauty and this is what helps me do that. And taking care of yourself, I think, is an important step in that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what is your routine?
So I think basically, like, cutting out the basics, like I wash my face and all that stuff. But I think it wasn't until... I'm going to start off with a product that I can't live without because it's like... I don't know. Anyway, when I was in college, I had really bad acne. I felt like I had really bad acne to the point where, like, I thought, like, swimming and being in the chlorine was doing it, and I wasn't gonna give up swimming for all of these reasons. And someone had thought like, you know, maybe I should try Proactive. And I heard like a little bit of like up and downs about it, and then it like really dries your skin out. And it really works for my skin. It's always really worked for my skin. I used it even when I was in Australia. When I was living in the middle of nowhere, I was able to get that somehow. And I swear by it. It does like really dry out your skin, so it's very important. Like I have a lot of different like moisturizers because I never really understood the purpose of moisturizing my skin, because I always felt like I had oily skin, but I had oily skin because I wasn't moisturizing my skin, so that all of it was just like coming to the surface. And so it's like a pretty basic product, and I think it's kind of like the you know, it was like talked about a long time ago, and I think it kind of like fell off and no one really thinks twice about it, but I really like it. It's like, probably there's gonna be so many people who are like, that's not good for you. I don't care. I like it. And it comes with like the wash, the toner, and the lotion, and I only do it once. I do it in the evening. The con to that though is because of the whatever that's in like the benz, whatever that is. Yeah. It can sometimes like stain, like literally stained my shirt, I think, over here. It can like stain, like bleaches it a little bit, but I swear by it. And also, I don't know if it's just like a mental thing, but I just feel so much better when I use it versus like other like face washes and stuff. So I started with that just because it's like the main thing I start off with is like when I wash my face. I also because hair is like such a big thing for me, I typically go get my hair, like my eyebrows, my bikini, and sometimes my armpits waxed. But when I can't do that, I have always like struggled finding a decent razor that like doesn't give me a lot of razor burn and just kind of like feels good. And I use the Billy razors that you can like literally get, I think, pretty much like anywhere, like Target or something, Walmart. And I love them. They're pretty like affordable, and it works well with my skin, and I really like that. Just throwing another product out there, because again, like hair is like such a thing for me that I think about so often, is this like oil, I think it's called Fur. They also make like ingrown hair patches. I haven't tried those. I don't know if they've worked. Something like that hasn't really worked for me in the past, so I'm kind of hesitant. But the oil in the container, just, it smells really good, makes me feel good, and it also just kind of like helps like moisturize that area after shaving. So I think like I'm not a big product person, but when there's a product that I like that again makes me feel confident and I feel that it works, I like to use it, and those are the ones that I think are like my top ones that I like. Yeah, that's like my basic routine, I think.
Those are good.
Yeah.
Skincare is important.
Skincare
I think
is
I've
nice.
learned this in the last like 2 years. If you would have asked Savannah, she came to visit me when I first moved down here, and she was like, "Can I use some of your face wash?" And I was like, "I don't use that." Like, I really didn't have any type of routine, and then I would be like so frustrated with my skin or like why my face was acting out. So I can really attest to the importance of it, because honestly, it wasn't until I went to an esthetician, and I had gone to dermatologists like growing up, and they were the ones that were like, get on birth control, use this like really heavy like retinol cream that like dries everything off of your face. And I like hated it. I never felt like, okay, yeah, sure, my acne's gone, but now my face is literally falling off. Like the skin's so dry. So I just, not that dermatologists are all bad, but I felt like they never really understood what I actually needed, which was, I literally just needed a skincare routine, I think. Yeah. And so when I went to an esthetician, and she was like, yeah, I learned similar things of like, you actually have like pretty dry skin, and you need to have a moisture. Here's your day moisturizer and your night moisturizer. And like, I had brought her all of my products, and she basically was like, throw all of those away. Like, they have so many things in them, and it's like, you just need like very clean, like basically no ingredient things on your face, which like is an obvious thing, but I guess it was someone telling me that I was like, oh, that makes sense. Yeah. So I feel like for me, like the medical grade skincare stuff was what I had used because I bought it from her, and now that it's gone and I don't have a paycheck, I'm not buying that anymore. So I don't really want to like recommend those products because they're expensive, but they were helpful. I think it's more of like actually like washing your face and
Like
putting on
basics.
moisturizers and like exfoliating once in a while. And I have like an exfoliator, like exfoliating face wash. I have a face wash that has the benzoyl peroxide or whatever in it.
Yes, yeah.
And then I just have like a basic like makeup removing face wash, which is the one I use the most. But like if I feel like my skin's building up with oil, I'll use the benzoyl peroxide one. And if I haven't like exfoliated in a while, I'll use that one just to like, you know,
Switch it up.
maintain like this level of like getting rid of the dead skin and clearing out the oil and things like that. I have a toner that I use. I really don't put on a lot. Like my foundation is like a tinted like sunscreen, basically.
Which I highly recommend.
Yeah.
Because I think sunscreen is so underrated because, at least for me, like I hardly ever use sunscreen growing up. I was like, no, I want to tan. And now that I'm older, like I can still tan, but like my face is very important to me.
Yeah.
And so using and having sunscreen on hand is so important. So having like, if you know, for me, I feel more confident if I have like a little tinted something on there. So then to add the sunscreen, it's like, perfect.
Yeah, no, I definitely recommend that. And I can attest to the sunscreen. This has also been a recent discovery for me. I had to get a biopsy on my nose because I had a bump on my nose. And I was like, I cannot have skin cancer at 27. But I was also like, it's very possible because I never wore sunscreen. Yeah. And luckily, like, it was just this, like, tumor that wasn't really a tumor. It was because I picked my skin so much that it was basically, like, irritated skin.
Yeah.
But even the guy, who looks at? It's a dermatologist.
I think
okay,
so.
I guess I don't hate dermatologists. The guy that looked at my skin was like, that doesn't look good. And he was also like, you need to wear sunscreen. Like, even if you tan easily, you have light eyes, like you're fair-skinned. Even if it tans easily, that doesn't mean that it's good for you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I really would not like to, like, because it runs in my family. Like, all my grandparents have had to get, like, stuff, basically, like, chunks removed from their face. And I'm like, I just don't want to have that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I feel like wash your face and wear sunscreen.
Yeah, those are that. I also think too, like on the hair thing, but as far as like my hair, like I went to a dermatologist a few years ago because I got really nervous when I came back from Australia after living on the station and basically only showering in shit water for 2 years. I felt like I was losing my hair. And that is like something that is like, you know, the theme of all of this is like your confidence. You do things based on your confidence level and how you're gonna like show up and how you feel on the inside and if that shows on the outside. And for me, I was like, holy fuck, like I'm very self-conscious about that. How can I get that fixed? And they did like a bunch of tests and it's like, you know, whatever. So for me, like having healthy hair is important to me. And so one thing that I do pretty consistently that I love is the Moroccan oil for my hair. Smells good, love it. I don't even know, I just got like a large size a few years ago and I use it every day, but I only use a little bit of it and I love it. But let's see what our followers had to say on the same oil path. We had someone say that their product to die for, or whatever the question was. What was the question? What beauty product do you swear by? Argan oil, which I've used before, loved it, love it, still do.
Do you use it for like your skin or your hair?
I think you can use it for both, but for me, I think I primarily like associate it with using with your hair, is what I think.
Yeah. Also learning how to properly wash your hair. It's like I just became a human this past 2 years. Because also TikTok's great. I was watching this person was like, I see so many people complain about having like oily hair underneath. And she's like, it's because everyone just puts the shampoo on the top of their head and scrubs right here and then puts the conditioner right here and washes it. And it's like, of course, that's why your hair is like that. So it's like putting the shampoo here first and then working your way up. instead and putting the conditioner, like separating out your hair and putting the conditioner on the ends. I'm like, wow, my hair's never looked so good.
Also, like, I don't wash my hair every single day now. Like, I cannot believe I used to, like, I would wash my hair every single day with just like this crappy shampoo and conditioner that had like a whole bunch of shit in it. I'm like, it's like such a waste of money. I don't need to wash my hair all the time like that. Okay, we have someone who said Dyson blow dryer. Oh my gosh, I wonder if this is the one that like the twirler one.
I think I own it. It's like the Conair version of it, and I don't understand how to use it. This is why I'm so thankful I have like naturally wavy hair, because I don't, aside from a curling iron and me just going straight down with a straightener, I don't know how to do anything with those. But people that do, it looks really great.
I would love to have one. I think from what I've seen is like, especially with my thin hair, it's like such a quick thing.
Wait, is it the one that like sucks it up?
I think so.
Oh, I don't have that. I have the one that's like a brush.
Oh, wait, maybe like it is that one too. Roller brush. Yeah.
And people like go like
twist it. Yeah. I have one of those. It is easy, especially with my bangs. It just like makes things, well, when I had bangs, it just makes things so much easier and gives like your hair a little volume. So love that. Paula's Choice Skin Perfecting 2% BHA Liquid Exfoliant. Wow, that's a mouthful. But I love things like that, because once you find like a good product, that's another thing too, side tangent, is learning the actual amount of product that you need
to use.
I don't need excessive amounts of whatever it is, because it's such a waste of money, and like it ends up doing the exact opposite of what it's meant to do. So love that. Lotion mascara for the straight lash girlies. Love that. Also Aquaphor. I've been using Aquaphor for my lips. I also use it as like mascara kind of, and my eyebrows, and it's a highlighter. It's done everything. It's like that's another beauty product I swear by.
What do you know? What is lotion mascara? Like you just like rub it onto your eyes?
I have no idea. That's what made me think of the Aquaphor, because I was like, I kind of do that. So I'm not sure. A good highlight can always. That's one of our other followers said, a good highlight. So she didn't specifically say which highlights. Girl. No, I think that's true, is when you find like a good, if you're not like intensely into makeup or need like a lot of products when it comes to doing your makeup, but if you find something that again just kind of brings out your best qualities in your face and like makes your eyes sparkle and yada yada, like stick with it. And I think like having a good highlight really helps.
Yeah, I feel like it's like learning that like one extra little step to like zhuzh up your makeup when you want to, instead of just like wearing flat foundation and some mascara, which is totally fine, and that's what I do 95% of the time. But I feel like learning like a little extra thing that you can like, oh, you know how like where to add it on your cheeks, or you know like adding a little dot on the tip of your nose like does something, whatever. It's like
just makes you feel so like, oh, okay. Plus it like switches it up a little bit. I like using those kind of products when I'm doing something different. Like I said before, we don't really wear a lot of makeup, but when we go out, I feel like, oh, okay, like I can add this and for a little pop, and I just feel so like put together and ready for whatever the night may bring. And we actually have 2 for the Paula's Choice 2% BHA.
Oh, interesting.
So that must be like a
good exfoliant.
Topic. Yeah, very good exfoliant. So, yeah, I mean, again, like we said, this wasn't supposed to be like a fix it or this is what you can do kind of episode. It's just more so of like, let's have better conversations with our friends of what we're going through and kind of normalize some of these things that we may be dealing with, because it just makes everybody feel a lot better, especially when, leaving at least for us, that small town vibe of just like, okay, now we get to choose our own friend group and choose what we're watching on social media and where we're putting our time and energy towards. To be able to have those conversations with those people is so important. And also to recognize that it is your body and your choice on what you want to do, as long as you're doing it for you and it's bringing out the best version of yourself and how you want to be presented and how you feel on the inside is out for everybody else to see, I think is like the main theme of it all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'm not going to repeat what she just said in a different way, so... on that. Please go rate and review if you haven't. If you're listening to this episode, it takes literally 2 seconds. If you're on YouTube, hit subscribe so you can be notified when the next episode drops. And follow us, Polite as Fuck Podcast, on Instagram and TikTok. And see you next week, guys.
See you next week. Love ya.
Bye.